find out. We got to find a good time to bring him on because, like you mentioned, he was part of the medical team for Tommy Fury too, who pulled out of the fight. Alleged rib injury, broken ribs. I think he had several other injuries there and illnesses that kept him from fighting against Jake Paul. And that would have just been very interesting because now this changes everything. Jake Paul gets a crazy KO against a former UFC champion. They fought once already. I think he got a tattoo of Jake Paul, if I'm not mistaken. Tyron Woodley, I don't know much about him. I've never heard of him before this fight, so he has to. Oh, that's the wrong one. He has to thank boxing for putting him on the map, if you can say that. As far as this combat sport, Jake Paul put him on the map, and he also put him on the mat, laid him out flat. But it just would have been interesting to me to see Tommy Fury, an actual heavyweight boxer, a professional boxer who comes from a boxing family, half brother of Tyson Fury, to see how Jake Paul would have done against a real boxer, against a real fighter. Obviously, Woodley is a fighter in mixed martial arts, but you can't compare that to boxing. We've seen it time after time after time. You don't play boxing, man. And these guys, they're looking bad, these other pro athletes, man. Jake Paul is just taking bodies, just wrecked this dude, took him out, and it was just crazy. Embarrassing for MMA, embarrassing for Woodley, who was a last-minute replacement. He went in there confident that he was going to take Jake Paul out in this rematch. And we saw what happened, man. He got put asleep worse than Nate Robinson.
It was better than a lot of professional knockouts. I mean, obviously, Jake Paul's a quote-unquote professional fighter. But that knockout was, he was out, and of course, he made the rounds.
Yeah, and it wasn't even anything spectacular. It was just an overhand right. It was a right that was accurate. Woodley, of course, like most MMA fighters, they don't know how to defend against punches. Just took it straight to the jaw, went asleep right away. One of the KOs of the year. You said Jake Paul, quote-unquote, professional boxer. I consider him a pro. Obviously, he's not fighting against other pros, so that makes it a little weird. But I guess my question would be, should he be considered in the end of the year awards? I mean, a lot of people were talking about prospect of the year, and a lot of people were talking about, what do you call it, KO of the year. And, should he be considered for that? Let me pull up the right one. There you go. Should he be considered for these awards, man? He just, obviously, Tyson Fury had a crazy KO. There are a few others out there. Was Valdez Berchelt, was that last year or this year? I can't even remember. But, I mean, this was one of the crazier ones. I heard about it right away. I know Clyde texted me. I know other people showed me the video of this KO. I mean, it's the one that was making the headlines. It was the one that was making the headlines. And look, all you quote-unquote real boxers out there who keep getting upset, who keep saying, oh, I've been working for this my whole life. It's unfair that this guy is getting paid so much money and put on these huge platforms. That's unfair. Hey, man, look. All eyes were on boxing this weekend. He got a tremendous KO. You can either complain or step your game up, man. As harsh as that sounds, dude is putting eyes on boxing. I heard that he also fights to get the people on the undercards paid a little more. He had a Serrano, right, on the undercard. Yeah. I mean, whether you like it or not, boxing was what everyone was talking about this past weekend, and he got a tremendous KO. So I don't know what to say other than that.
Yeah. To me, you mentioned a great point. Although he is under the parallels of a professional boxer, he's on BoxRec. He does the minimal that you need to do to become a professional fighter. He follows all those quote unquote protocols. Um, obviously, there's that drug thing and we'll talk about it some other time. But he is in the sense a professional fighter. You bring up a good point that he's not fighting professional fighters; he's fighting debutants. And that would make me want to take him out. But just seeing that knockout and seeing what a lot of the other guys are lacking, are not doing, I have to throw him in there. Will I give him the award? That's a stretch, but I would have to consider him for either newcomer or knockout of the year, or he would have to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and let's see. Who was? Mad Dog H says Jake Paul still has a Joke Paul still has a better resume than Charlo and Wilder, in my opinion. Yeah, he's taking out names, man. He's taking out more names than those guys. I'm just let's see. The KO reminded me of Sergio Martinez or Paul Williams. One of the greatest KOs I've ever seen, man. Saya says Big Bro already pretty much gave himself the prospect of the year. Yeah. And Nico Ali Walsh versus this Paul brother next. Damn. Hey, they said Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And guess what? I think that would be bad news for boxing because I think Jake Paul beats him and he's going to go out there and say, look, now I'm beating real boxers.